driving. Okay. Ready?
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry, talking to you from 3 separate studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide. Marie,
We're so excited today to have an amazing friend on, Neill Mohammed. But what's even cooler is now this is our experimental foray into virtual interviews. So we are super excited and thank you so much, Neill, for coming on. But before we talk a little bit about Neill, we have to talk about us because we're just that cool. So be sure to like, subscribe, share. Heartland Mamas.
MAMAS.com.
There you go. All right. Go ahead, Heidi. Give a little intro about our Neill. We love Neill.
I met Neill 11 days after I don't know if it was 11 days, but it was right after the 2016 election. He came to our Indivisible group in Ottawa, Illinois, and introduced himself as a candidate to run for Congress. And we all fell in love with Neill because he was so smart and he had so much common sense in an era when we were crying out for common sense. So he became an instant favorite of the Indivisible groups out there in the Heartlands. And he didn't make it through the primary, just like you didn't make it through the primary, Murray. But boy, I wish one of you had.
And that's the thing is Neill and I ran against each other in the primary. And we also ran against someone else. And I swear to you with the number, I don't even get it. Neill was great. We became pretty good friends. He's an amazing guy. So it is possible in politics, even if you have a primary, to end up coming out with friends and not enemies.
That's how it does say a lot. Yeah. To actually make friends with somebody you're running against for.
Right, because it gets nasty.
I don't think that happens that often. Well.
Yeah, see, you guys had nastiness in the primary. I had nastiness from the party. So.
Oh, everybody raise our glass. Neill, I just saw that. Put it up. Tonight, also our inauguration. Yes. Friend libations, drinking with, I don't know, we'll figure something out, but everybody's having a cocktail. So cheers.
So today, Murray and I invited Neill on because we wanted to talk about some of the topics of the day, and because he's the smartest person we know, we thought we'd ask Neill. So.
Oh, wait, stop.
What?
We did meet, and we do. I would consider the time we've interacted with Andrew Yang knowing him. Neill, I think Andrew has you beat for smartness.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Andrew, oh, no, I'm sorry. I love you, Neill, but Andrew's got you, man. So speak for yourself, Heidi.
And see, I thought you were going to go with...
somewhere near the top. I don't need to be a Jeopardy.
Hey, listen, Jeopardy guy, just because you played on Jeopardy.
That's why we can't stump him with a question. And Murray, I really thought you were going to go the Bill Foster route, so...
Oh, hell no. No. No.
He worked with my uncle.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So anyway, so there's some questions that we have, some burning questions to ask Neill about the shelter-in-place order for COVID-19 from the state of Illinois and a lot of the surrounding states, and we're leaving Iowa out of that mess because I don't know what's going on in Iowa.
Iowa is a whole other hot mess. Iowa is, oh, sweet Jesus.
So
I don't even.
There's too many disasters in Iowa that aren't natural, and their governor is one of them. So anyway. But we wanted to talk to Neill because 8 of our Illinois senators wrote a letter to the governor asking him to reopen the state. And I had some really grave concerns with that, Neill. I don't think we've peaked on our numbers yet. I don't know if you're familiar with the Illinois numbers, but I don't think we've peaked yet. And I think until, in my opinion, and I don't know if it's valid or not because I'm not a medical professional, that we won't really be safe resuming our previous lives until we have a vaccine and we have most of the herd immunized. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that, well, first of all, no, this is an interview, so thank you again for having me. Nice to see you guys. It's been a while. I think that folks are a little overconfident right now, given that at least for a couple days toward the end of the last week, the number of positive cases, the number of mortalities had seemingly leveled off for a bit. And I think that's, at least here in DeKalb County, it's changed. It's actually picking back up, unfortunately, over the last couple of days. Um, by way of background, and I guess, just put in context, you guys know this, but maybe the viewers don't. So,
Yeah.
aside from the short-lived political career, which is where I met you two a couple of years ago, my day job is working in the healthcare industry, and I work as a consultant to primarily rural hospitals, but hospitals all across the country that are, dealing with the same stuff that we deal with as normal folks, which is the cost of prescription drugs and all the shenanigans that private insurance companies play. And the only reason I mention that is that it happens to be the case that one of the clients I'm working for right now is a extremely large academic medical center, like a university hospital
Mm-hmm.
in Boston. And as of a couple of days ago, I actually lost some folks from the hospital team I was working with because they were pressed into service to help set up a 1,000-bed field hospital in Boston's convention center. So these are folks who presumably have the best data you can, the best understanding of how the disease progresses and so on and so forth. And so if they're setting up an extra 1,000, projecting even more of an influx of COVID patients,
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that maybe our Republican state senators in Illinois are not necessarily totally accurate in saying that we can just get back to business as usual here.
I think you and I, Neill, are on the same page, and I think Maria is too, that it's just too soon for us to get back to resuming our previous lives. I think we're a ways
So
off from that.
today,
Yeah.
Governor Pritzker during the press conference has been being pressed little by little, and it was interesting because he started to frame it out a little bit
Yeah.
and kind of give people an idea that this may or may not be. But what he did today and yesterday is he's using the federal guidelines as of now that we have to be 14 days with a decrease in cases. Not flat, no increases, but 14 days before we can even begin
Yeah.
to
Mm-hmm.
start to move into that next phase. And like I really think you're absolutely right, Neil. I don't think we're anywhere near the peak. We're not going to peak until the middle of May probably.
Yeah, well, and I think that there's so much variability, right? Because so I think folks get overly optimistic about what the models are saying, like epidemiologically,
Mm-hmm.
um, in terms of the rate of spread and the rate of contagion and this, that, and the other, because we actually have so little good data on
Right.
how many people have been exposed, how many people have been sick, how
Mm-hmm.
many people have been sick and recovered.
How
Um,
long it takes to get sick, how long you can be, yeah,
mhm,
asymptomatic,
mhm,
and
mhm. We don't actually know how many people have died from COVID-19
Right.
because, at least in bigger cities, I know this is true in New York and Chicago, um, because there's not enough tests available, plenty of
Right.
people are dying with some sort of respiratory distress. They never get tested.
Right.
And if they're never tested, depending on what the local authorities decide to do, they're never actually added to the count of the number of people who are, described as being coronavirus patients. So um, people are doing their best. Well, some people are doing their best. I think the experts are doing their best, but um, these models are only as good as the data goes into them, and the data is not good because the federal government's response has been so horribly, horribly bungled, managed from the very beginning.
I think that, not having a cohesive response from the federal government, and conflicting data and advice from the federal government has caused a lot of the people to be um, a little less responsible, and a little less tuned in to what's going on. Because if your federal government is telling you to, it's time to reopen the country, and your local government is saying, you know what, not a good idea yet, it's really difficult for
Mm-hmm.
people to decide where they fall. And I think that's why we're getting into some of these um, armed militia incursions.
Okay, I don't even think I would call it a militia. I would call it a
No.
Ammon Bundy temper tantrum. It's not even a militia. Okay,
Right. It's not a
let's talk
militia.
about what it is. It's a group of men who have very tiny penises and are afraid of everything else.
Well,
I've got a lot of theories about. We can come back to this.
yeah.
Too quickly. I've got theories about that. I think you're onto something. But
I think that
Uh,
there is, as far as, and it goes to the larger Trump supporter role. Why would anybody support him at this point unless it's blatant
ha,
racism, misogyny, and small
whoa,
penises?
whoa!
So,
Stop! Heidi,
yeah,
you've said this several times lately, and I really feel I need to interject here.
yeah,
You said racism,
yeah. I'm going there.
small
Yep,
penises.
going there.
What was the third one?
Misogyny.
Misogyny. But wait, there's more. We can't forget about the brainwashing. We
Yeah.
cannot forget about the programming that has occurred. So
Yes.
that even you got to add the cult in there. And I don't know
But
what you call that particular meal. What not cult member, a cultee. You
um,
got to throw that into why they're a supporter too. That's the fourth category. Do you know what that's called? Anybody?
Stockholm
yeah,
syndrome.
A devotee? I
right.
don't know.
No, I understand what you're describing. I mean, I think that that's definitely part of it too. Um, and I mean, unfortunately, we're all super familiar at this point with the effect that Fox News has had on people. I mean, we'll come back to that in a second. That's something that's totally unrelated. But I think the distinction between what Heidi was saying, like local and state authorities on the one hand and national authorities on the other. I think because our media doesn't talk about it in the right way. I think a lot of folks don't understand just how much basically all federal, all executive branch agencies have been politicized.
Yes.
So even with this, my other weird hat I have right earlier in life is I used to be a professor of foreign policy, and that was in higher ed and blah blah blah. The first place this happened was in the State Department, where Trump appointed somebody with zero diplomatic experience.
Rex Tillerson.
Yes, to run the State Department,
Mm-hmm.
which I lost not a bet with a friend. I didn't think that was nearly as bad an appointment, which is not saying anything. I realize not as bad as an appointee as some of the other maniacs that
Like Betsy DeVos.
Well,
Betsy
I was
DeVos.
really convinced Betsy was going to ruin everything, and boy, did I pick that one wrong. I mean, I knew they were all going to screw it, but smart money was on the lasting repercussions, the most long term damage aside from judicial. I was going to say it was going to be to education, but boy, oh, ha,
There's
no.
folks. Remember Scott Pruitt?
How would you?
don't say that when I'm
Right,
drinking.
right.
Um,
Then you have to look and go. At this point, Rick Perry
Looks
and Betsy DeVos look good.
I'm
They
not going to say that
look
about I'm not
good.
going to say that about Betsy. Rick Perry, he's not started a nuclear war. He's not blown up any of the warheads he's in charge of. So he's done. But no, like
Right?
so. The only point I'm getting to you is that I don't think folks realize that the information coming out of even like an agency that should not be political at all, like the CDC,
right.
maybe it's accurate, but Trump and his goons have put the screws to anyone else for stepping out of line, right? All the DOJ stuff and every other department. So
Before that, look at how innocuous the National Aeronautics, Oceanography and Aeronautics
oh
Association is.
yeah,
NOAA
right. The climate change
from
stuff.
Alabama. The minute that our National Weather Service, a manager that oversaw the safety of states, a chunk of states was threatened to be fired for telling the truth, I knew we were screwed.
And these in this, and I'm not. It's not me being smart. I'm plagiarizing this from somewhere. But like in a pandemic, which we all have the horrible misfortune of living through right now. Like the worst possible thing you can do is put out misinformation.
Right.
And of course,
Agreed.
that is what
I
our national government, which is, I don't know, it's kind of insane. When you really start to think about um, just how badly our national government is performing and doing its basic blocking and tackling stuff.
it is
Relative to like nearly almost any other place in the world when you start to think about it.
It is.
And here, Neil, one of the things that I think that you touched on is that we're seeing a lot about the Second CARES Act, and Heidi and I are talking about the second stimulus and what we want to see and things like that. But eh, this is so frustrating to me. Is that I know we were in a crisis. I know we had to figure out something,
Yeah.
but it was done in such a way where it wasn't thought through, it wasn't planned out. And that was my biggest complaint with government, is that we are reactionary. Everything we do is reactionary instead of being rational forward beyond. And it's not their fault for this. They knew unemployment numbers were going to be going up. They knew the economy crashed. They had to do something. I don't fault it at all, but we need to start thinking in terms of making it so that jackasses like Ruth Chris or Let Us Entertain You, corporate, doesn't take away from Mojo's. I think Mojo's, downtown Plainfield. She employs 76 people. 76 people in tiny little Plainfield.
Mm-hmm.
She's amazing. She's a woman-owned business. She almost owns the building outright. She's paying dram shop, but she has no liquor sales or anyone in her building. She's keeping people employed, and now there's nothing for her.
Right.
When you have,
well,
so those are things that we need to think about.
I think with the stimulus package for small business, we are in real trouble right now, because the small businesses like Mojo's, like my business, like hairdressers, like the taco shop that's in downtown Marseilles, we're in serious trouble. Me, not so much, because I'm in a better position financially because I have no mortgage. But other places that are newer businesses that have higher overhead, that have higher debt ratios, are in serious trouble. And these other corporations came and ate all of it and left nothing for the small businesses. And that's a subject different than I think where we're going today, with the health and wellness end of it is, kind of, my concern is if we don't start behaving.
Listen, we're drinking and we have Neil.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Well,
Eric, time has lapsed in nothing has any meaning or relevance anymore. We're drinking with one of our dearest friends, our viewers. Heidi's a good girl, because I apologize. I could go off into Neillandia forever.
Oh, jeez.
In a good way, not a creepy old cuckoo Mrs. Robinson kind of way.
Somebody told me a couple weeks ago at work, and some conference call I was on something or other. There's only 3 days in the week, right? There's yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And that's basically the only way to mark time at this point, because we're all stuck inside, bouncing off the walls.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I think the planning for tomorrow, by being present in the moment right now, to make sure that we aren't foolish with our health, that we don't open up back up too soon. In order to plan, in order for small businesses to survive, in order for me to have a horse show season this year, in order for Neil to be able to leave his house, or
in order for me to have a soccer season,
right? People need to behave, and I know I've become a little, I'll say, short-tempered with people who just are so selfish that they can't see past yesterday. They can't see where they are at this moment. They can't see where the country is at this moment. And it is largely the misinformation coming from the federal government, specifically Donald Trump, and from Fox News.
And remember, anytime you have a vacuum of information, truthful information, logical information, people are going to fill that vacuum with what makes them feel good.
Well,
and in a crisis situation, you're right. Yeah, what appeals to them, what makes sense to them, and it also opens the room for tons of conspiracy theories, because they're not given the information. That's why Illinois is very different. Like, our press conferences are more like a Inslee's press conferences. They're more
they're excellent.
Each day has something different, addressing another socio-emotional need, another level that they're working on. Now, no matter what's going on, the impression is phenomenal. So we're learning something new. We're seeing how we're working together. Cuomo's are all about the numbers. You don't get the same feel as you do from
Sure.
Governor Pritzker. So when you have a governor like that who's open, who's honest, who says this sucks, we lost a lot of people, worst day ever. Then you've got Trump who says, oh, it's going to disappear in 6 days. By the middle of April, it'll go away. People have to pick where their values lie,
I
and
know.
Well, they
what that
do.
core goes back to racist, cultists,
Yeah.
idiot.
So they do, and but they do in this way with motivated reasoning that's very bizarre to me. So one of my pet peeves is I spend not just way too much time on social media, but I also spend way too much time flaming people in the Facebook comments on news stories posted by the Daily Chronicle and Big Kel. And there's a certain kind of guy who posts
Are
on
you a
those
Chronicle
stories.
troll?
Yes,
Do you
I
live
absolutely.
under the Daily Bridge?
um, I got the Facebook what's it called icon or something or other saying I'm a top fan of the Chronicle. So
The
I
badge?
Woo!
like all those posts.
Top
Um,
fan.
there's a lot of folks in this I mean Cal I assume in the state too who the frame of reference they go to is you know and I agree he's done an excellent job in a shocking not that any of us thought something like this was going to happen but
Yeah.
I don't mind saying, JB was not my candidate in 2018, but he's done, I think, as good a job as one could have under the circumstances. So I've been very impressed. But anyway,
Me
so
too.
some of
He's
the
been awesome.
um, folks are apparently viewing this, and Lord knows where it's filtered through, right? I mean, they're probably not watching the actual, just footage of him in front of a podium or whatever. They're probably seeing it reposted from the right wing fever swamp or whatever. But there's
Yeah.
plenty of folks out there who think that like, oh, here we go, another Democrat conspiracy to take our whatever. And I lose my patience with it because I don't understand how anyone can possibly believe that anyone is happy about this. Like, what do you, Daily Chronicle viewer, think is the end game here? Right? Do you think that the Democrats and state government in the state are making money, getting some sort of enjoyment out of it. I
Mike
don't.
Madigan and George Soros are working together in the state of Illinois because everything's Chicago except this tiny little sliver.
Right, right. I don't know. People are funny like that, and it's I don't know. Well, you guys have been way more active than I have, certainly, but um, I remember in 2017 when I started, running in mine and Murray's race. Like the way I thought about it was, hey, this what happened in 2016 was horrible, but I think we can come up with an explanation for why we're here in this position, and here's how we're going to dig our way out.
Yes.
And 2 years after that, 2.5 years after that, I don't know. I don't know what to say to certain people. It's tough. I don't want to sound too defeatist, but
It.
if somebody thinks that JB Pritzker is like lying about
I know.
the danger posed by coronavirus, I don't know what to do with that.
So Neil, we know where we are right now. We're at a time where we see people that are not following the advisories from the state, that are conflicted between the information from both the state and federal government and from what they see on TV. You and I and Marie all know that there's going to be another side to this. There's going to be an end to this, and there's going to be a future and a forward. So I'd like to hear from you.
We
What,
know this.
of course, the dawn
Are you
always
sure?
comes. Yes, there's a dawn after every night.
Wait. Yeah, the dinosaurs thought that too. Okay, last time T Rex was like, I'm going to bed, roar, and a nice Stegosaurus, and the next thing you know, he's gone. So, I
I,
don't know.
I,
I don't know, Heidi. That's a pretty major statement
I
there.
don't think we're at the extinction of the species. I think we're uncovering all the stupidity in the species. But what I was saying, Neil, is that I'd like to hear what you think it's going to take to have a cohesive message going forward, what that message should be, and what the other side's going to look like.
Well, the biggest, I think the most important message that's missing right now, not at the state level, I think certainly at the federal level, is just people acknowledging, and this is, I mean, yeah, it's Trump's fault. I think it's also national media's fault to a large
Hmm.
extent. Is
Agreed.
um, we actually, even now, 4, 5 months into this thing, depending on when you start the clock, actually don't know all that much about the virus.
Right.
So I was reading something earlier this afternoon that, um, at least in New York, which of course is the biggest epicenter in this country, there's now a run on dialysis equipment because it turns out a ton of COVID patients have been
Oh,
suffering
Kidney failure.
severe kidney failure,
that
which
figures with a high fever, it's going to
y-
cause permanent kidney damage.
yeah, it makes a certain amount of sense, but it's also something that has not happened other places. And so, who knows why it's happening more in New York than it did in, Milan or Wuhan or wherever. Um, but stuff like that still seems to happen quite a bit.
Hmm.
And, you know, best case scenario is something along the lines of, oh, it slows down and we still keep some social distancing and, another year or so, 18 months, there's a vaccine. But I think it's important to keep in mind that, like, we don't actually know that that's true. There aren't, no, we've never developed a vaccine for a small c coronavirus,
Right.
the way it's structured. We don't actually know if surviving coronavirus actually leaves you with any sort of immunity or antibodies
Or
against
for
it,
how long that immunity
or for
lasts,
how long.
or
Right.
how high your antibodies have to be in order to get that immunity. We know nothing.
That's right. So we don't actually know all. I'm waving my hands up. I'm not a real doctor, but we don't know a ton. We don't know as much as I think
You're
we
the
also.
second smartest guy we know.
um, we don't know as much how the virus progresses as I think most ordinary folks think.
Hmm.
Um, we don't know when or frankly if a vaccine is actually going to be available. To be fair, I guess we don't really know what the actual, you know, mortality rate is of the disease, though,
Right.
that, the number of people who think that, oh, 1%, oh, take their chances, you got to break a few eggs. I
Dr.
don't think,
Phil. So,
but, um,
Dr. Oz.
so yeah, me and my PhD are a fake doctor, but I'm a less fake doctor than Dr. Phil. He's a fake doctor. Um, but no, I think, honestly, the near future, I think, looks a lot like today does, which is a lot of muddling through. Unfortunately, it's probably a lot of people out of work, and I think even if people start going back to work, the economy is still going to be in an extremely deep recession for a long time.
yeah.
Um, I think it mostly looks like this, which is not comforting. But I don't know. There's another, a better, more honest way to answer that question.
Okay. Now, I realize that the data that we have is so poor. And
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, that comes from the federal government being unprepared and then being in denial for so long, and then being reticent
100%.
to
Mm-hmm.
collect the data and have it be properly processed and analyzed. And that may come from when we have another administration,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be the Nancy Pelosi because Trump fails to hold the election, or Joe Biden, who is the obvious heir apparent here. So, but I realize that I think, to me, I think it's a data problem. I think that we don't have the data, enough data to analyze to have. That's why we keep grabbing at this. Uh, oh, what am I thinking of? This like hearsay data. What's the word I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking of, Murray?
Uh,
Uh,
Anecdotal
yeah.
data.
Anecdotal
Yeah,
evidence.
anecdotal evidence. And I think that that's steering us down the wrong path. I mean, if somebody gives you bad directions, you're going to end up at a different place, correct?
Right. Right.
So so I think we've been given a lot of misdirection and bad directions instead of saying, look, we need to keep compiling the data and then study it so that we know the path going forward. We have nothing to go by except for some anecdotal evidence from the Spanish flu, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I look at it this way: when you were talking about the vaccine, we've never made a successful vaccine for HIV/AIDS.
Exactly.
We have very bad, um, a very poor record on vaccinating for a virus because the virus keeps mutating. So I am very gravely concerned about that, and I'm concerned about the people who continue to break the protocol and go out, and the governors that are, well, let's say Rick DeSantis, opening beaches because we know people aren't sick enough down in Florida. Can you imagine having this virus in July in Florida? Because that's what's going to happen. So, I mean, it's hot and miserable in
Well, and
Florida.
actually, something
Okay,
I've been after you, Murray.
go ahead. No, no, go ahead,
No, I
Neil.
was to say something that
I was just gonna be a smartass.
you I don't know if we're actually on the air at this point, but you'd mentioned that one of the um, first cases on your guys' neck of the woods was somebody returning from spring break, and that's actually something I was thinking about a couple of weeks ago, which is that when Florida was refusing to close the beaches the first time around,
Yep.
those people were all Floridians, and they all had to go somewhere.
Yes.
And Lord only knows how much they brought back with them. And which is another problem, right? Because like, yes, I applaud Pritzker and the other Midwestern governors who put together this little sort of regional alliance, like they've done in the West Coast, like they've done in the Northeast. But you know, unless we're willing to go into places that, frankly, this country's never gone before,
Yeah.
um, any jerk from Iowa can hop on 88 and drive to Detroit, drive to wherever.
We don't
So
the,
Yep.
don't the
it's
people
one of
in
those
St.
things.
Louis know it? You know.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Look
You're
at
right.
look at all Southern Illinois. They know
Yeah.
between Kentucky and Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God we have Ohio on one side
Well, no,
and
Kentucky
Wisconsin.
Kentucky is trying to do better, and but
But you saw that the governor issued an order in Kentucky.
Bashir.
I believe it was to close all. Yeah, Bashir ordered closing everything down, and the Republican
Yeah.
Senate went to the Supreme Court and got it
Oh,
overruled.
I didn't see that.
It was just yesterday, I think. So
See that this is a
In
problem. Spring.
Kansas, something's yeah. After you speak.
No, go ahead.
No, please.
It's springtime on the farm. I miss a lot of stuff. It was just a smart assy comment. So, but I think that's going to be our longer recovery time, and the fact that we'll be sheltering in place longer is because we don't have a cohesive federal policy on this. I mean, let's face it. If the entire country just shut down for 2 to 3 weeks, we'd be over this.
okay, I'm sorry, I have to say this too. I truly believe that if he had said, I would ask every governor to shut down the nation. Had he been a leader, had he done a national strong, because he doesn't have the power to, urging of lockdown, had he been, he would be torches and pitchforks of his own base would come after him. For them, go ahead.
I'm not. I will take the other side of that, which is that I
Ooh,
think there are folks who are Trump supporters are so convinced,
Yep.
right? Because he'll change positions day to day, hour to hour. They're so convinced that he's got a plan and he can be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
That if
Colt, you're right. Colt, yep, you're right.
if you done a little social play and talked about how we had to make the sacrifice, and not only would his voters have gone along, I think a ton, frankly, Democratic voters would have gone along. It would have been the same deal as in 2001 and 2003 under George W. Bush, where
Yeah.
plenty of Democrats, including relatively liberal Democrats, all thought, well,
Mm-hmm.
not my, I didn't vote for the guy, but this is a national emergency, and we got to do what's right.
Right.
Yep, yep.
Yep.
I think it's instructive that he couldn't or wouldn't or nobody thought to. Um, you know, it- yeah, and in the absence of that, and this is I'm going to shoehorn this in because I want to say something about it. So the market surged the other day because supposedly there was this pilot test of this drug called remdesivir, which I think was originally developed either for SARS or for Ebola. And I'm
Ebola.
no doctor.
Yeah.
Thank you. That apparently in some very small pilot study it shows a lot of promise, and so the
Anecdotal
market
evidence.
Yep.
then a single day people so desperate for good news, and even if that works, um, I looked this up with the stuff I got access to in my day job, and because it's an experimental drug, it's never actually turns out been um, authorized by the FDA. I actually couldn't find any places I've worked that actually ever had it on hand. So who knows how much it would actually cost? But
Wait a
the
second. Can hold on, Neil. I'm sorry.
yeah
You said that remdesivir hasn't been
Mm-mm.
approved by the FDA for.
no, they started testing it with the Ebola, and then they were able to control
So
it
it
for
hasn't even been
several years.
approved for Ebola.
No,
Nope.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Thank you.
So it turns out medical research is a lot more difficult than maybe for good reasons,
For
right?
very good reasons,
Um,
yeah.
there's a lot more uncertainty in figuring out how pharmaceuticals work than maybe a lot of folks realize. But anyway, what I'm getting to is that the pharmaceutical manufacturer that makes that drug also made another drug called Harboni, which is used for hepatitis C. And
Right.
Yeah.
Harboni costs $30,000 a month for 3 months.
Yes.
And Lord knows how much remdesivir actually costs, or how much you'd have to take if you were, a critical COVID patient.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um, it, it'd be nice if it existed, for sure, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But it's even if it did, it'd be very hard to think about what the road back to normal looks like, if
Yeah.
that's how much the treatment costs. And so I think folks are desperate for good news, which we all are, because it's human nature, and this just frankly kind of stinks. And it'd be nice if it
Okay.
didn't kill
Sorry.
us, but
I just want to say, for those of us who are introverts by nature, which I am totally a geek introvert, it
I
is
don't
too
believe it.
peep. Oh my god, I am. It is too peoply in my freaking house. Okay, like I. But no, we're really good. Like we're used to like in the summer not really leaving much, just sort of cloistering and being lazy or whatever. So but it's even peoply here. So when everybody goes outside, when we're all released and the virus is gone and the sun shines and everyone dances in the streets, I'm gonna stay inside for a while because it's gonna be too damn peoply out there.
I feel
I
like
was made for this. Okay, I was made for never leaving my house.
I go to the grocery store, being an uptight rule follower Democrat that I am, once a week, if
Yeah.
that. And there's something psychosomatic going on where every time at my apartment, I come back and I convinced I have a sore throat, or I'm short of breath,
Oh
or like,
no.
um, maybe that's makes sure. But yeah, again, even if we get the all clear, I mean that reintegration, I mean the economic devastation, the psychological effects, the
Yeah.
just sort of like rebuilding that social fabric, that's going to take a long time.
It
It's not
really
going to
is.
happen just overnight.
Yeah. There's not going to
I
be.
do have to.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
do have to ask you, having experience in the medical field. Um, I know you're not a. I know you're not a doctor. You only play one on TV.
He is a doctor.
Uh,
Medical, not a medical doctor.
Hey, now she totally threw me off my train of thought.
Sorry.
Thanks, Heidi.
Sorry.
Because I wanted to ask him a question
I'm
with
sorry.
his experience. And it's time to drink, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, because I have recently discovered day drinking. Anyone else here?
Discovered. Nice.
Oh,
Old
okay.
hand at that.
Old hand at that. See, I'm not a day drinker because I get a headache. I'm not really a big drinker. I am, however, a big a consumer. So cannabis.
No.
I'm a wake and baker, but not a day drinker. So this whole thing, I made some comment the other day about being a day drinker, and everyone I know is like, "Join us. It's fun." I see that now. So when we are watching this, whether it's 9 in the morning or midnight, it doesn't really matter because you can day drink now.
Hey,
Apparently,
Nights are timeless. Yeah.
I guess that there's going to be an increase in AA meetings after after this is over, or
they're doing
maybe
them by Zoom.
by
Yeah.
Zoom. Sure.
Mhm.
Okay.
Which I'm
So,
sure. Yeah.
now changing subjects drastically here. we wanted to talk a little bit about the presidential primary and election. And we know Murri and I were not, like for me, Biden was in my top couple, maybe five, and Murri not at all. And I know you were, Neill, were you a Bernie supporter?
I was.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're frozen on my
I'm
screen,
shocked.
Neil. Move your mouse a little bit, Neil. So, because I've just got a picture of you still, and it looks like you're about to sneeze. So, anyway, so I wanted to talk to you about a little bit about how this all worked out and why you feel the country is getting behind as a former political science professor. Why you think everybody came? Because the people obviously chose Joe Biden. So, why do you think the people came to that conclusion?
I think there's. Well, let me ask, actually, before I answer that question. So, who did you guys end up voting for in the end? We haven't talked in a while, so.
Wait, who did we vote for in the end? Because remember, Illinois got kind of fucked. The only two people that were left were Bernie and Joe,
Oh,
right?
well, a lot of folks are still on the ballot, though. Well, I guess who would? That's a fair point. Who would you have voted for if it was still an open field when we had our primary?
Warren.
Okay,
Warren or Yang?
interesting.
I love Andrew. Andrew's the entire purpose of him is the reason why I went into politics is when I bang my head against the wall, logic and understanding that we have issues right now. You bet your ass we do, but we can stopgap those issues because what's coming on the pike is far bigger. So to me, forward thinking is so important, and he's able to look at a situation and not just see it for the immediate that it is, but like, what's our repercussions from this? And to me, that is a leader, and my heart, my heart.
I remember seeing one of your guys' posts where you were in somebody's living room with Andrew Yang at some point.
We were in a bookstore,
So,
a coffee house. Yeah.
So you got to see him up close and personal. So I'll
Yeah, we did a couple. Yeah.
Um, so why do people support Biden? So I think a couple things. So one, and this is just this doesn't do as well as progressives or as Democrats, but I think Democratic primary voters clearly um, we think about electability in a very different way than Republicans do, and I think it's not to our benefit. The folks who were voting for Trump in the 2016 Republican primary were not, I don't think, particularly worried about electability. They now, not for good reasons for the most part, but they said that's my guy, I'm going to vote for him. And I would even say this as somebody who used to be in that field, not like the president or studying political science. I think there's a lot to that because you can tell yourself any story that you want as a voter as to, okay, I like so and so, but I'm worried about somebody else down the street who he or she is going to vote for, and the whole thing just kind of gets turned on its head. And
Yeah.
I guess I say that because I think that was frankly a factor in mine and Murray's race 2 years ago.
Yes.
But
It was, I think.
So there's that. But then also the other thing I'll say, I say this as somebody, I supported Sanders in 2016. I supported Sanders in 2020. I'm worried, and there was a lot of shenanigans and a lot of things that happened in 2016. In 2020, it stank to lose that the way that we did, but I think that's just politics. And yeah, it's too bad that a whole bunch of people dropped out the day before Super Tuesday and endorsed Biden, and Clyburn endorsed Biden. That clearly moved the needle in South Carolina. That's from my perspective, and obviously I hope Biden wins. That was too bad, but I think that's also just the way the cookie crumbles, and that's not a conspiracy, and that's not a
Okay. Quick question, Neil, on those lines.
Mm-hmm.
If Super Tuesday would have happened without the shadow media attention of coronavirus, would so many of those candidates have dropped out?
I would. My guess would be yes, because my guess would be, the same game that Democratic primary play, worrying about electability, is the same thing that Democratic consultants, the Democratic Party, senior, grand poobahs or whatever. Um, I don't. I think a lot of those folks opposed Sanders and frankly opposed Warren because they didn't want their own taxes to go up. But I think the real
Agreed.
reason they opposed Sanders in particular right at the end was that they just thought in their infinite wisdom that he wasn't going to win. And I think that would have been true coronavirus or not. I think the wild thing though is, like the Wisconsin primary going forward, even though at that point it was extremely clear that there's a public health risk to having the election. Um,
And I think the Wisconsin GOP really rolled the dice hard on that, hoping that their conservative Supreme Court,
lost, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think that they were counting on a low voter turnout to be able to keep their, and I'm going to air quote this, conservative, because I don't know what you're conserving at this point, edge. And you know what, Neil, to me, um, I look at it with the whole coronavirus thing and everybody dropping out, is that people were longing because of Trump's erratic behavior and his extreme lack of ability. I think people were just longing for something that they knew that was tried and tested before that felt safe to them. And I think that's why Biden became the people's choice. Maybe not my choice, maybe not your choice, but I think people were just like, we need some safety here, and we need some sane and safe and
Yeah.
sameness is how I look at it. When I talk to people, I talked to one man in the Iowa caucus that told me that, women are born to lead and they should be doing this. We've screwed up for so long. And then when it came time to caucus, he went and sat down with Joe Biden's table. And he said it's because, we just need something that we're familiar with, that we know we can trust. And I thought, oh, yeah, big stinking liar. But
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
so,
No, I think that's 100% dead on for sure. And it's too bad. If folks just this is dumb, probably is dumb. If folks just voted for whom they thought was going to do the best job, I think we'd be left with way better outcome. I really do.
I agree, Neil. I said that all through this primary, Heidi and I, when we were covering the different candidates and
oh, Neil, I
different
went and met
places. I,
almost
I
all of
would
them.
say, I would say over and over again, please vote and I got sucked into this. I was like, no, I'm voting for who I think is going to be the best president, right?
Hmm.
And I was sucked in, and then I got sucked into that same mentality. And my Judge, you've met Judge, my oldest,
Hmm.
he told me he had something important that he wanted to talk to me about. Now, if you've ever had a 17-year-old son and they say, "Mom, I need to talk to you about something serious," and this is before the coronavirus, yeah, you know where I'm going, Neil, right? Like, I he tells me he may want to change what he's wanted to do as a job for the last 10 years.
Okay.
Tells me he might not want to be a teacher anymore, that he might want to go into politics.
Did you slap him?
I did. I'm like, what the hell? You have watched, you've seen behind the scenes. I'm like, it is nasty, dirty, horrible business. So wrought with just creep. Why, you sweet, beautiful, smart boy? And he goes, because I think that people my age will listen to me, and I know that we need a voice, and I think I can be that voice.
Oh,
And
awesome.
I was like, oh, piss off. All right, fine. I'll help you if you
It's
decide to do it, you little
it's
shit.
like all three of us. We ran because we thought we could make a difference. We didn't run for
And
ourselves. We ran for
well, and
everybody
and in
else.
actuality, we'd love to have you back on, Neil. I personally would like to do a show on when they run. It doesn't matter. I'd like to talk about that, which is another day, so we'll do that offline before we get back. But there was an actual point to my son saying that he wanted to run and do something different because he thought he could make a difference, and totally lost what that connection was. So
No, actually, so I think that's
see,
this may.
fear, kids.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, so you can tell me to stop. This is not what you're getting at, but um, I think that is something that I want to put this. Okay, so I think folks who thought that and continue to think that Biden was a safe pair of hands and all, and I'm even willing to like stipulate, okay, your heart's in the right place. I think you're wrong, but I understand why you came to that conclusion. I think a lot of folks nationally and political lifers, right? I mean, the folks that we met and dealt with in our races a couple of years ago. I think they don't really understand just how different the world actually looks if you're not young. And I'm not. Well, I'm not gonna put you guys on the spot. I'm not young. That's the point I'm getting to. But
You say you're either the oldest millennial or the youngest Gen Xer.
I am literally nearly. Q says that millennials started in 1981. My birthday was February 1st of 81.
I say you're a Gen Xer. Sorry.
My taste in music is.
I claim you as my
So-
people. I claim you.
I can claim you both as my children, but
Go away, boomer.
hey, I'm at
Out.
the very end of the boomers. I'm almost whatever
Out,
came after that.
boomer. Out, boomer. Neil, we're taking this offline. Goodbye, Heidi.
Oh, thanks.
Because it's a plot. The
Um,
coronavirus is a plot to destroy all the boomers, apparently, we've heard recently.
Oh man.
That's another kettle of fish. No, I think for young people. So and actually, I think I use this. I used this. It sounds weird. I remember talking about this at some point while campaigning, which is that. So I graduated from high school in, I guess it would have been June of '99, which was like I think a month. I think that was the same year as the Columbine school shooting,
Yeah.
which was the first really like properly mass school shooting of and which was as an 18-year-old horrible enough at the time, right?
Yes.
But I think what's a lot because anyone younger than me has, I mean, and little somebody your son's age who's 20 something years younger than me, their entire life they have gone to school literally every day knowing on some level that they might not come home for school, and the reason on some level was because people in political power did not give enough of a shit to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And day after day after year after year after year, I have to think that adds up to something. So I think between that and again, I mean, obviously climate change, knowing that if you're 17 and all the science says the wheels are going to come off this thing in 10 to 12 years, okay, now you're 27, 29, and you've got Lord knows how much after that. Like, people of that age are completely out of time in a way that I think people even my age don't really understand. And I think that has to weigh on you. And I think that, folks like that, yeah, young people don't vote, whatever. But I don't know how you tell people who maybe they think about it a lot because maybe they're Murray's kid and they've been around politics and I assume very, politically idealistic or whatever. Or even if they're not, that's still got to be rattling around in the back of their head somewhere. I'm
Yeah.
convinced. And I don't know how you tell that person, hey, vote for Biden because, we're just going to get back to, 2012, the good old days, and we'll figure it out. Like,
I get it.
It doesn't work. And I hope they vote for Biden, obviously. But,
I know.
yeah, that's a mismatch.
It's how do you engage this amazing generation, like you're saying, who has grown up always from the time they're in preschool doing active shooter drills, who watched elementary school kids get destroyed. Like, how do these kids are ready and they're able to fight and they are active and engaged in a level that I've never seen of other generations because I work with them. And I'll tell you that then you get grandpa who can't even figure out their remote camera. And most of them really respect their grandparents, so that's a good thing. But I don't think that they're going to be excited to go out and vote for Grandpa Joe.
Well, and here's the thing, though. We know that demographic doesn't vote or didn't turn out for Bernie like we thought he would. So,
that was the millennials they were banking on, not my Gen Z. Leave my Gen Z alone, man.
well,
I got Gen Z. Leave them alone.
I'm telling you, millennial, the demographic that votes all the time is my demographic.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
And
well, it's also because you're the biggest, because you had
no, we're not
get a lot
anymore.
of shit at Gen X because we're the smallest of any of them. So even if every single one of us came out and voted, we still wouldn't have the number of votes the rest of you assholes have.
but COVID-19 is killing off my generation, you know. So
sorry.
Yeah, that's not nice.
Well, we have had an amazing talk with our good friend Neill Mohammed, and I know we have gone way over. We may have to split or whatever, but I would love to have Neill. Neill, we would love to have you back on the show because you're just such a good friend.
Thank you so much for being here, and always interesting whenever we've talked in the past. I always come away thinking I should have taken notes.
And now hold for 1 second. We do need to make the announcement that Neill is running for a position right now, county board, DeKalb County Board. So, Neill, do you have a website? Do you have anything that we can let people know about you?
We need to get the old website back online at some point. It's not currently online. But no, I'm running for District 9 in DeKalb County, currently unopposed, and let's keep our fingers crossed that maintains.
So it doesn't matter. Go. Okay, he's going to be the next county board member, folks.
Yeah.
Do they know your last name is Mohammed? Do the Republicans know your last name is Mohammed yet? Do they know about you? Because you might slide.
I think in his district he'll be okay. So
living in downtown DeKalb, the Democratic did very well here in our primary. I'm relatively optimistic about winning the election. I'm less optimistic about what being in local government is going to look like come 2021, but that's a different conversation.
We'll have you on to talk about that at another time.
For sure.
So,
Neill, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, thanks for tuning into our new we're going at once. Maybe we'll make like a Zoom Discord, or maybe we'll just start live streaming Twitch, like tagging like an Easter Shields marathon where we just keep interviewing. I don't know. Stay tuned and find out what exciting things can happen.
So find us on all podcast platforms and Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com. Thanks again for being here.
And find Neill Mohammed.
Yes. Bye, Neill. Thank you so much.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm going to go ahead and shut it off. I'll edit this part out. Hold on.
Takes her a little while.
I know. It takes me a while, but I'll just edit.